morning, everybody. Today is September 24th, 2015. My name is Koiosotalk, and you're listening to Koiosotalk Talks. So this is the inaugural episode of a program that I hope I can do every week. I don't know if I'm going to do it every week, but we'll see. Because there's things I want to talk about, and you're going to listen. So, without further ado, one of the things that I want to do is talk about geeky books. So, I hear and I know about geeks. I work in a bookstore and I see the geeks out there and the nerds and whatever you want to call them who come in and they know and they quote movies and graphic novels and stuff like that. They play the games on either tabletop or video. But a lot of them don't seem to know about sci-fi and fantasy books out there outside of what titles have been made into videos or movies or whatever. And I think that's a shame because there's such a rich environment of sci-fi and fantasy novels that can enrich a person's life. So I'm going to take some time every week and talk about a classic kind of novel or kind of a sci-fi book and then a modern one also. So this week I want to talk classically. I want to talk about C.S. Lewis's space trilogy, Out of the Silent Planet, Piralandra, and That Hideous Strength. And these detail Elwyn Ransom, he's the protagonist's adventures on Mars, Venus, and Earth. It relates and expands upon the fall of man in a cosmic setting. And I really recommend it. It's a great book to read, even if you're not a big fan of C.S. Lewis otherwise, and you probably know him from Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe series. This is something completely different, and it's a really great novel. It's a really good read. I highly recommend it. For the modern version, or for the modern novel, I want to recommend The Martian by Andy Weis. So, movie coming out in just a few days, I think, and it's about Mark Watney, who becomes stranded on Mars, and he must survive by sciencing the hell out of things. And that's one of the lines from the book and from the movie. If you can't wait for that movie to come out, you could always check out this movie, Robinson Crusoe on Mars, which has nothing to do with The Martian, but it is kind of a really cool movie to watch. It's an old kitschy thing, and Adam West is in it, although I believe he dies pretty quick, so it's a good movie though. I also want to recommend, if you're interested in reading science fiction and that genre and want to kind of get into that genre a little bit more, one of the things about science fiction that I've always liked is that a lot of authors start out small. And in fact, The Martian, Andy Weis, started off so small he couldn't even get published. So The Martian was originally released as a serial novel online. And a lot of novels seem to be heading towards that direction nowadays. I remember and I'd have to look it up, I don't remember what it is now, but there was a kind of a horror series, a guy who wrote horror novels, vampires and werewolves and stuff like that, and he released it online and actually got published. Same thing happened with Andy Weis. And if you're interested, a lot of the authors from way back when and even now started off writing in magazines, these literary magazines, and one of the big ones is Lightspeed Magazine at www.lightspeedmagazine.com, and I'll put the link in the description below. And it's a great short story, quick read series of science fiction short stories. Really nice to go on. Even if you've just got a few minutes, go on. You can read the book and stuff like that. All right, that is my literary treatment for the day. On to all the news for geeks to use. I love that. It's gonna be funny. All right, System Shock. You probably don't remember this. Maybe you do. But System Shock gets a reboot. So Destructoid reports that System Shock was kind of the less cool looking but more technically involved version of Doom. And it came out in, I believe, 94 is what I was told. In any event, the player assumes the role of a lone soldier trying to stem the outbreak of a genetic infection that has devastated the ship. Haha, Doom. Now, the gameplay consists of first-person shooting and exploration, and it also incorporates a role-playing system, which Doom really does not have, other than upgrading your weapons and some of your armor and stuff like that. The player can develop unique skills and traits, such as hacking and psionic abilities. It also includes a realm of basically the Matrix or virtual reality or whatever you want to call it, which is really cool. You've got the online, which is or not the online, but you've got the real life, which is on the ship, but then you can get into the computer system and kind of hack and stuff like that. So that's actually it's a much more technically involved game than Doom was, but it's kind of on that same vein. So the enhancements that they've done is they brought it into the realm of modern PCs. It gives resolution, although it's still crappy resolution. It goes up to 1024 by 768. You have mouse look, which means you can use your mouse to look around. Remappable keys, and then some original game bugs have been fixed too. I actually own the first System Shock game, which I loved playing, and I was horrible at the online. That online hacking thing, I was horrible on there. I still have the game disc somewhere in here. So you can get this. The System Shock Enhanced is available at GOG.com for $7.99, which isn't a bad deal. And oh, by the way, the publisher was Irrational Games, and they came out with a successor to this, which a spiritual successor. It's just a small unknown game called BioShock. So figured you might like to know that. Unity. The Unity platform has spawned a ton of different games, and they had their, a few nights ago, or maybe this was last night even, they had their 2015 award winners, and I'll put that link in the description also. They were honoring the best games made on the Unity platform. The top award, which is the Golden Cube, went to Cities Skylines, made by Colossal Order. There's a lot of other winners in other categories, and the same games kept popping up again and again, including games like Kerbal Space Program, Ori and the Blind Forest, Endless Legends, Pillar of Eternity. Make sure you check this out. A lot of these games, you've seen being played, and they're definitely great games to play. And this is kind of a one-stop shop for really, really great looking and great playing games. Riot Games, who owns League of Legends, has banned a crappy team for 2 years. So the gamesindustry.biz reports that Team Immunity, which was not paying its players, has been banned by Riot Games. And Riot says as esports grows, so does the investment required of professional players who compete at the highest level. The OPL, which is the Oceanic blah 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 Players League or something like that, believes it is important that professional players in Oceania receive match payments to compensate them for the time and effort they put into their play, as well as the pressures they face. We believe it is unacceptable for organizations to repeatedly withhold or delay payments owed to their players. Bottom line is this Team Immunity wasn't paying their people, and it's time to do that. Now, this brings up some really, really interesting points about, esports and the evolution of esports. So I went online to esportsearning.com, and I looked up kind of what do people earn playing video games. And let me tell you something. Dota 2 is the big paying game right now. There are players out there making over $1 million, up to close to $2 million. That's incredible to me. That's professional. These are professional sports players, basically. I know that hundreds of thousands of people watch the League of Legends tourneys. If you go into Twitch, you constantly see that, and you see Dota 2 up there, stuff like that. So the questions that I have are things like, is this going to turn into the sports of the future? Are esports going to become pro football is right now, what pro baseball is right now? Are we going to see the decline of those other sports? One of my beefs right now is that cities are being forced by the physical sport teams, football, baseball, basketball, stuff like that, to build ever larger stadiums for their teams, or the teams leave. Are we going to see that kind of thing happen where esports teams become anchored to a city? And I don't know how this would work, but would the esports team want to leave if they don't give them a big arena to play in or something like that? Let me know what you think in the comments below. It's really kind of an interesting little thing. I guess the other question is, are esports really sports? A lot of people say no. A lot of people say these are people playing video games, and yes, they're very good and skilled at it, but it's no more than that. On the other hand, $2 million for playing a video game? I'm jelly, bro. I'd love to do it. Okay, controversial topic of the day. Minecraft sucks. And you guys know I love Minecraft, but it sucks. And actually, Minecraft doesn't suck. Mojang does. And let me tell you why. So, Minecraft 1.8 was published in September of last year, at the beginning of September of last year. That was over a year ago. The first snapshots for 1.9 only started coming out at the end of July. So it was 11 months later that you started seeing the next update for Minecraft. And this update, I'm sorry to say, I am very not excited about it. It's the combat update. The combat update, shields and offhand wielding. I'm like, it's been done. This is done. Mine and Blade Battle Gear did it 2 years ago. Why the hell are you reinventing this, Mojang? Why? And why is it taking so long? Why would it take so long to take what has been done, and done pretty darn well? I played that mod. You can't get it right yet. You've been coming out with weekly updates, and you keep on breaking things in it. I don't get it. I don't get this at all. And yet, boats aren't fixed. Boats haven't worked since ever. You can't. Boats are one of the earliest things that were put into Minecraft, and they still don't work. 4 years later, they don't work. Why? Why can't we get this right? Why can't that thing be gotten right? I was reading on Kotaku, there was a Redditor ranting about boats, and I'll put the link in the description down there. But I agree. I mean, I'm like, why are you even messing with anything else when you can't get the one big thing that everybody would love to have? You put water everywhere around your worlds, oceans, and you can't get the thing that would help you navigate these things. You can't get that right. Well, you certainly weren't. It's to a point where you put the water thing on your boots. I forget what it's called. To make up for it, because you can't get boats right. So here's my deal. Minecraft has sold millions of copies. When you take into account PC, Xbox, PS mobile sales, Notch before he left is worth like $25 million. And with all that, development's pretty much come to a slow crawl. It seems to be halted in some cases. My question is, why aren't they hiring more people using these mod makers? They did that with the horse update. They actually took the guy who did what was the mod? Mo Creatures, was it? I think it was Mo Creatures. They took that and they inserted it in there, and it didn't seem to be that big of a deal. And yet, this thing here seems to be taking forever. And it's like this one thing, shields and offhand combat. And there's a few things. There's a few other things. If you go onto the Mojang blog, you see a few other things, but it's nothing land shaking. It's not or earth shaking. This is the big thing is, we have some different arrows and we have some stuff like that, which again comes right from Mine and Blade. Are the devs getting tired? I know that there's a whole ton of these. Minecraft has one of the problems with Minecraft is that it has a whole ton of cross-platform forks. So there's the Java ones, which is Windows, Mac, and Linux. There's an Android version. There's an iOS version. There's Xbox, PlayStation. And I don't know how many different. I believe that the Xbox and PlayStation may be C++ based. I'm not for sure about that, so don't quote me on that. I know that one of these versions out there is C++. There's only 19 devs, and they're developing for a whole ton. And there's Windows Phone, there's other things like that. And yet there's only 19 devs. Why with all these millions of copies sold, you're telling me you can't afford a good project manager? You can't afford a few more devs than this? I just feel like there's maybe some slowdown going on here that I hate to see. I really do hate to see. I see the rise of modded Minecraft. And when you see the rise of modded, to me, especially because you see these same things coming out for the next version. I mean, take Pam's Harvest Craft. It's been out since 1.4 or something like that. It keeps coming out, and people keep using it. People love that one. IC2, Thermal Expansion. These things keep coming out. These mods keep coming out, and it tells me that this is stuff people want. FTB has partnered with Curse. They've got this big thing going on. Technic has a big thing going on. And it's not because people don't want it. If people didn't want this stuff, if they didn't care about this stuff, if it was a niche thing, then they wouldn't be around. And this is primarily for Windows, Mac, and Linux. This doesn't include, because I don't think you can put mods on Android, iOS, Xbox. I think you might be able to put some mods on Xbox. I'm not sure. PlayStation, I don't think you can put mods on. This is for a very small portion of the entire Minecraft universe. So it tells me that people really are interested in these modded. They want more out of Minecraft than what vanilla gives them. They want vanilla. Don't get me wrong. They still love vanilla. I love vanilla. But they want more. And you get this one thing, from Mine and Blade, and it takes them forever to get it right. Even though Mine and Blade got it right, several versions ago. I don't get it. I don't know what the internal workings of Minecraft are versus pulling mod makers in, stuff like that. I don't know how all that works, and I don't claim to know, but it seems to me like to add this component should have been instant. They should have just gotten it to work. And then fix the damn boats. And I think a year ago, when Microsoft bought Minecraft, everybody was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Oh my gosh, we don't know. Is Microsoft going to kill Minecraft? And if they are, it's by throttling the team. It seems like. Because it doesn't seem like they're doing much. I don't hear a lot out of Mojang as far as Minecraft is concerned. Lydia, who's the director of fun, she's the brand vice president, whatever, blah, 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 seems to be interested in developing this Minecraft movie more than doing anything. I don't see a lot of news from the team, a lot of hype from the team, and maybe they just need a better marketer. I don't know. I still see lots of Minecraft videos out there, but it's definitely slowing down among a lot of YouTubers out there. You can't call the Minecrafters Minecrafters centric anymore. They don't do it anymore. Very, very little comes out. If you look at like Vintage Beef's channel, half his videos are no longer Minecraft. And if you think about it, their big thing is the UHC that came out. So you'll see a lot of activity around Minecraft when you see a UHC come out, but that's about it. Etho's slowed down. Etho is a Minecraft channel, and he doesn't do a lot of Minecraft anymore. He does a lot of Ark and stuff like that. B-dubs, other than Flyboys, what has he done? I guess he does still do some building with B00. Generic B doesn't do anything hardly anymore. Hermitcraft is still pretty big. And then you see things like the Diamond Minecart. They're still one of the top video producers of Minecraft videos out there, but they're primarily either modded or roleplay or animated. They don't do basic Let's Plays very much anymore. So what do you guys think? Do you feel like maybe Minecraft is jumping the shark a little bit? And if you're not familiar with that phrase, jumping the shark is when a program or an entity or something like that has basically run its course, and now what they're trying to do is just save it by being more flashy and stuff like that. And it comes from Happy Days. So a lot of people believe that when Fonzie, and if you don't know this, you can look it up online or something like that, Google it. Fonzie jumps the shark tank, and that was kind of the end of the series. But then the series kept on going on for a long time afterwards, and slowly lost market share and stuff like that. So my question is, has Minecraft jumped the shark in some respects? Has Minecraft Vanilla jumped the shark? Is modded still a viable thing? I don't know. It's interesting to find out. Let's talk about it. Let's have a good conversation. So talk about it in the comments below. All right, the last thing that I want to talk about is, do you need to terraform a planet? Well, it's simple. Just nuke the hell out of it. So, Elon Musk, who's the owner of Tesla and SpaceX, and he's the evil genius, Dr. Evil, I suppose, wants to nuke Mars to make it more habitable. And what he wants to do is he wants to set off a bunch of nukes at the poles of Mars. And at the poles of Mars, you have ice caps. And they are primarily water ice and carbon dioxide ice, because it's so very cold on Mars. And when you nuke something like that, you turn all of that carbon dioxide and water into vapor, which is carbon dioxide, as we know, is a greenhouse gas. Water vapor actually is a greenhouse gas too. It retains heat. And the thought is that if you turn all of these ice caps and everything into vapor in the atmosphere, it'll thicken up the atmosphere, create a warmer planet, would allow the release of some of the internal water from Mars that's hidden just kind of underneath the crust to come out and warm up the planet and create an atmosphere. And it sounds really good on the surface, until you start thinking of the problems that need to happen with it. So number one, you would need a lot of nukes. It's not like you can just have one or two go off and that's going to solve your problems. I mean, Mars, even though it's not a very big planet, is a pretty darn big planet. It's a planet. And you would need a lot of nukes to release enough water and carbon dioxide vapor into the atmosphere to make any kind of change at all. The second problem with this is you'd need a lot of nukes, and you'd be blowing up a heck of a lot of nukes on the surface of a planet. It's never a good thing to do so. It's never a good thing to blow up a ton of nukes. I mean, outside of the fact that you're blowing up a ton of nukes, it'd be tons of radiation, and that radiation would be in the air. It would, that's the reason why we don't do above ground testing. Well, we don't do hardly any nuclear testing anymore, but we don't do above ground testing because it releases a ton of radiation into the atmosphere. And a lot of that radiation rides in the water and carbon dioxide particles. So you don't want to do it. The third problem is a very practical problem. So let's say that you did this and it worked and everything like that, and you know, all was well in the world. The problem with Mars is that Mars does not have a magnetosphere. And the magnetosphere basically shields us from the sun's solar radiation. So the sun, in addition to light and heat, which warms up the planet and stuff like that, also puts out a whole ton of other crap in its basically nuclear explosion, you know, constant 100% nuclear explosions. It puts out a ton of other things, gamma radiation and ultraviolet radiation and all this and that. And so even if you have an atmosphere, oxygen, nitrogen-rich atmosphere, without a magnetosphere, you would have constant radiation bombardment. So it would be basically like going to a very tall mountain. So you'd have a pretty thin, you'd have an atmosphere, but it's a pretty thin atmosphere. So go to the top of a very tall mountain and then strip away the ozone layer and the atmosphere, the magnetosphere, and stand up there for, you know, a good few days, and you would end up developing all kinds of skin cancers and stuff like that because you'd be bombarded by gamma radiation, ultraviolet radiation, I'm trying to think of what else, microwave radiation, all these different types of radiation, which the magnetosphere actually keeps us from feeling, and we've evolved to not have these rays bombarding us constantly. I think a better idea would be to build shelters or drill out caverns to live in. And one of the things, and I don't know that this is true or not, I'm just guessing, Olympus Mons, which is the largest volcano in the solar system, it's like 16 miles tall, I believe. It's taller than Everest, larger than the Hawaiian volcanoes, which of course you see the tips of the Hawaiian volcanoes as the Hawaiian Islands, but of course they go into the ocean. But I would guess that Olympus Mons, being a volcano, probably has a lot of lava tubes that we could start in. I don't know that for a case, and I don't even know if Olympus Mons is still active or not. Who knows? But I'm going to guess that some of these volcanoes that are on Mars would have lava tubes that we wouldn't even have to hollow out. We could put a base in there, have it, you can cap off the two sides of the tube, have a great place to live. It's a good place to live. But that would be my thing, is that if you get underground, you reduce your amount of radiation coming down from the sun. You don't have to worry about nuking anything, and you can still use ice from the polar ice caps to create oxygen. You know, carbon dioxide, of course, has oxygen in it, and of course the water has oxygen in there, and we just have to boil that up and release the oxygen in it, and you can have an oxygen-rich atmosphere. So that would be my best guess as how, if we wanted to colonize Mars, that would be how we want to do it. Now, Elon Musk also wants to, within about 15, 20 years, I think, start actually colonizing Mars. It would cost you about $500,000 to go there and colonize it per person, which isn't really all that bad. If you think about it, that's not really a bad price. But that's a topic for, I think, a different discussion. All right, well, thanks for joining me. That's all I wanted to talk about today. Leave your comments below. Tell me how stupid I am. Or tell me how genius I am, too. You can tell me how genius I am. I'm okay with that. But you're probably going to say how dumb I am. Anyway, thanks for listening. Talk to you later. See you next week. Bye-bye.